Yeah, here first we are going to study about the energy bands in a solid. Usually, energy band is very useful to segregate the metal, like to segregate the solid materials, not only solid material, like if we want to segregate the conductors, insulators, semiconductor, energy band will help us a lot because according to the quantum mechanics laws, the energies of electron in a free atom cannot have arbitrary values but only some definite values. So here we can say if an atom belongs to a crystal, then the energy levels are modified, and this modification is not appreciable in the case of energy levels of electron in the inner shells. So overall, we can say based on the energy gap value or else the based on the energy gap band value, we can classify the material as insulator, conductor, and the semiconductor. Let us see one by one. So here, first we are going to study how the energy bands in a solid is getting created. It's known that the atoms will always in the ground state, and after it getting some energy, it will move from the ground state to the higher state, right? So for going this, we have to give the energy to the electron in the ground state equal to the forbidden energy gap, then only the electron can move from the valence band to the conduction band. If we are not giving the energy equal to the forbidden energy gap, the electrons will not move from the valence band to the conduction band, right? So here basically we can say the formation of energy band in a solid is because of the electron alignment in the shells. So now we are going to study how the energy band in metals, insulators, and semiconductor. First, we are going to study what is in the case of metal. So here I said already there will be two bands. One is valence, another one is a conduction band. So here in the case of metal, there will be lots of electron in the valence band. So what will happen once it get the energy, the electron can reach the conduction band. Here the conduction band is partially filled. So the electrons can easily reach the empty energy levels above the filled ones, and the conduction here is possible after that only. So here we can say the second possible energy band in a diagram shows that the conduction band is overlapping with the valence band. This will happen when the electron starts moving from valence band to the conduction band, and it's known that they are free to move about in the crystal for the conduction. So the highest energy level in the conduction band occupied by the electron in a crystal at the absolute zero temperature, that is called as Fermi level. Now, let us see what will happen in the case of semiconductor. So here in the case of semiconductor also, we will have two bands. One is a conduction band, next one is about the valence band. So here at absolute zero temperature, no electron will have a energy to jump from valence band to conduction band. So the crystal will act as an insulator. So actually this is the diagram of the insulator only at zero temperature. Now, when we are increasing the temperature, what will happen? The electron will get energy and it will move to the conduction band. So here, when we are increasing the temperature, what will happen? The electrons in the atom will get detached and it will move. But at the room temperature, some electrons will gain energy more than the energy gap and move to the conduction band to conduct even under the influence of a weak electric field. So here we can say the value of P will be directly proportional to E and to the power of minus Eg divided by kBt. Okay, so here Eg is representing the value of energy gap, kb is a Boltzmann constant, T is a temperature. Usually, we will use the silicon and the germanium material as a semiconductor. these two materials are an example for the semiconductor material, because we will use this semiconductor material in all the electronic devices for preparing the electric devices actually. Okay, so as the electron leaves the valence band, it leaves some energy level in band as unfilled. So the unfilled region will be called as a hole in the valence band. They are mathematically taken as positive charge, like how we will protect the protons. And any movement of this region is referred as a positive hole moving from one position to the another. And here, because of the hole also, we will get some amount of current, but it will not be more. So we will concentrate only about the electrons. Now we are moving for the energy band in the insulator. So here it's known that the energy band between the valence band and the conduction band gap will be higher. The forbidden gap will be higher. In the case of semiconductor, it will be very less. In the case of conductor, as I show, it will get overlapped. Okay, so that is the difference. So in the case of insulator, so the gap will be higher. Approximately, it will be equal to 6 electron volt most of the time. So now, as we studied already, like the electron will move from valence band to conduction band. That time, the place of electron will get empty. That will be treated as a hole, and because of the hole movement, of course, we will get the hole current as well. Okay, so this is all about insulators, metals, and semiconductors energy band diagram. Now, we are going to study what are all the types of semiconductors are there. Before that, if you want, you can draw the diagram of insulator. I'm just keeping the screen for 1 minute. Okay, now I'm just showing the energy diagram of a semiconductor. Okay, so you can draw this also. So now I'm just showing the energy band diagram for the metals. You can draw this also. Okay, let us move to the next session, next topic now. So here we are just going to study what are all the types of semiconductor. It's known that there is two type of semiconductor. One is a intrinsic semiconductor or a pure semiconductor. The second one is the extrinsic semiconductor. So here it's known that in the case of intrinsic electron, the valence electron will be, it's known that in the case of intrinsic electron, the free electrons will be like very little bit amount. Okay, so again here we can say the example for the intrinsic semiconductor is the germanium. So in the case of intrinsic semiconductor, it's known that it is a pure semiconductor. When we are doping the semiconductor, which means when we are adding some impurities to this kind of intrinsic semiconductor, it will becomes as an impure or extrinsic semiconductor. So here we can do the doping by using three methods: by heating the crystal in presence of dopant atom, and adding the impurities atom in the molten state of semiconductor, and bombarding semiconductor by ions of impurity atom. So now the n-type semiconductor. So in the case of n-type semiconductor, we know that there will be the electron. In the case of p-type, or like in the case of extrinsic, we will have two type. First one is a n type, another one is a p type, right? So in the case of p type, you know what we will do, we will we will give the electron, we will add group 4 material with a silicon or germanium. So the germanium and silicon here is having a pentavalent, right? So because of that, it will produce more number of electron. So n type semiconductor will be formed. So simply we can say if there is a n type, it will have more electron, and if it is having p type, which means it is having a more holes, right? This is just the summary. Everything will be in our portal. You can go and check the theory part. And this is the formula we will use to find the concentration of the intrinsic semiconductor. So here NP is equal NiPi is equal Ni square, whereas Ni and Pi are the intrinsic carrier concentration. Okay, now the P type, as I said, there will be the holes. Okay, and here we are just adding the group 4 with a trivalent impurity. So last time we added with a pentavalent. So here we are adding with a trivalent. Okay. So that time, as I said already, we will have more holes. Okay. So now this is the difference between intrinsic semiconductor and the extrinsic semiconductor. So here when we are adding group 4, we will have intrinsic. When we are adding group 3 or 5, we will have extrinsic, and conductivity is only slight in the case of extrinsics because we are adding impurities. Of course the electron and proton values will be more, so the conductivity will also high. So again, based on a temperature, we can say the conductivity of a semiconductor in the case of intrinsic will increase with respect to temperature. In the case of extrinsic, it depends on the amount of impurity added. So the number of holes in terms, we can say it's always equal to number of free electrons in intrinsic. It will not be equal in the case of extrinsic. I'm just going to keep this screen for 2 minutes. You can copy the difference. It will be useful for you when you're going for exam. So here we are just studied about the Zener diode. Zener diode is the type of a diode. It's a type of a diode which will work under the reverse bias condition. Again, I'm telling like the PN junction diode is a general diode which will work only on the forward bias. But Zener diode is a type of special diode. Okay, now I'm just moving for the next one. The next one is also the application of the PN junction diode, and here in the name of application we are just going to study about the transistor. Transistor is nothing but which will work as a emitter, base and collector, right? So here when we are forming a PN junction diode, we will have only one P type and one N type, right? But in the case of junction transistor or transistor, we will have three type of semiconductor in it. So here we can say the like two same material will have one different material as a sandwich, and here we can say we will have two types. One is a NPN, another one is a PN junction diode. So the symbol of the NPN junction diode is this one, whereas the PNP is this. So here, just keep it in a mind. If the arrow is coming outward, then which means it's representing the NPN transistor. If the arrow is coming inside, which means it's representing the PNP. Okay, so here we will have a three terminals. Those are emitter, base, and the collector. So emitter, which will give us the electron, base, which will be act as a medium between the emitter and the collector. So the collector here, which will collect all the electrons from the emitter. Okay, so here I just show the practical symbol of a transistor also. Now, so again, this is the working of NPN transistor. So here, when we are connecting the battery, one side will have a forward bias condition, next side will have a reverse bias condition. Okay, so I'm just like the theories will be available in the website. You can check it. So this is for PNP. Okay. Now, in the case of PNP transistor, usually we will study about three things. First one is a common base configuration. Second one is a common emitter configuration. And the third one is a common collector configuration. So here what will happen? The base will act as a common for emitter and the collector term. So with respect to the base only, we will connect the batteries here. Okay, so this is just an application, and here I'm just showing the graph of the emitter and the collector, because here we have the base as common. Okay, now the same thing we can do it for common emitter, as I said. So the graphs will be for base and the collector, and the graph will look like this. Now the next one is for the common base amplifier. So this is the diagram of a common base amplifier. So here also we will have the VI characteristics. So it will look like this. So now this is about the base amplifier. Okay. So this is all about the application. So now the next one we are going to study about the logic gates. In the case of semiconductor physics, logic gates is very important. You have to know about the output of three basics logic gate. Those are OR and NOT gate, right? Now, so here OR gate. So this is the diagram of a OR gate using the discrete components. Whereas we can write the symbol of OR gate like this, and the output from the OR gate is A plus B. So when the output, if any one of the input is present, we can say that will be the output. Similarly, OR gate diagram will look like this, and the symbol of a AND gate is like this. And here the output of the AND gate is A dot B. So we can say even if there is only one input, it will not work. When both inputs are on, when the both inputs are high, that time only we will have the output in the case of AND gate. Now, NOT gate is just an inverse gate, right? So this is a symbol. So it's just A dash. If you are giving 0, it will give 1. If you are giving 1, it will give you 0. Now, the universal gate. NOR and NAND gate is called as a universal gate because by using these two gates, we can configure all other types of gates. So NOR is just like NOT plus R. Here, the NAND is nothing un plus not. Okay. Now, so here I just showed how we can uh, like uh, configure the or using NOR-GET and using NOR-GET, not using NOR-GET. I show the output also. So this is how we can create R using NAND, and using NAND, and not using NAND. Okay. Now this is the diagram of exclusive OR. Okay. So this is all about semiconductor physics. Now I'm just going to give you 5 minutes for you people. You can just revise the concept, then we can start solving the question. So now we can solve some of the question related with the semiconductor physics related to the need. Okay. So here in this question, it's given that when the output of an OR gate is applied as an input to the NOT gate, the combination will act as which type of gate? So you have the function of A plus B, right? Similarly, what is the another gate we have here? We have the 1 minute. Let me check my. Yes, yeah, it's fine. So the next GAT we have here is a NOT GAT. So it's known that NOT is a reverse GAT. So if we are giving the A as a input, the output will be A dash. So here we are talking about together combination. It's known that NOT plus R combination will give us the value of NOR GAT. And it's known that the NOR GAT will have the a plus B whole bar as the output. So by the combination of R and NOT, we will get the NOR GAT, right? So the correct answer here is option B. Now, the second question is also about the logic gates. So the circuit is given, we have to find the output. So here the given GAT is a NAND GAT, right? By the symbol we can say. And if it is a NAND GAT, output will be inverse of AND GAT. AND GAT is for multiplication, we can say A dot B. So NAND GAT will be A dot B whole bar. So here, when it is coming from the first, we can say it will be A bar. When it is coming here, it will be B bar. So now, again, it is coming here, right? It is multiplication. So A bar dot B bar, the whole bar, right? So based on the De Morgan's law, we can say A bar dot B bar, the whole bar, will be equal to A plus B. So the correct answer will be option C here. Okay, now we are moving for the next question. So here it's given that the input A and B is given. We have given the Y also. We have to find the correct expression. So here when we are checking the input for all the zeros, it is having one. For the ones also, it's having zero. And like it's just like we couldn't able to predict. So what we can do, we can go with the option. Okay, so if we are going with the option A is B bar. So if we are calculating B bar, it will be 1, 0, 1, 0, right? So this is the output, right? So option A will be the correct answer here. You can check with the other options as well. Okay, now the third question is again about the GAT only. So here the first GAT is a NAND, second GAT is a NOR, right? This is NOR, this is also NOR, this is NAND. So what will happen now? A bar, we will get it here, it's B bar. NOR is addition, then bar, right? So here what will happen? We can write A bar plus B bar, the whole bar, right? So based on De Morgan's law, what we can write? A dot B, right? So this is the output of the unget, right? So the correct answer will be B. Now, the next question. In the given circuit, the ABC, the given ABC circuit, the potential drop across the PN junction are equal in which one? This is the question. So we have three circuits here. So we know that the equal potential drop occurs when both circuits are either in forward bias or reverse bias condition. So here let us check what is the conditions are there. So this is in forward bias, this is in reverse, this is also in forward bias. So here it is again forward, this is reverse. So here this is forward and this is forward. So we can say the correct answer will be both circuit A and C will have equal potential drop across the PN junction because they are only in forward condition. Okay, so this is all about the question. Due to the time constraint, I'm just ending the class here. So you can, I'm just opening the chat box here. If you have any queries or something, you can ask your questions and queries there. So yes, let us move to the next one now. So here we are going to study the difference between the semiconductor and the metal. So here I just show the difference between a semiconductor and metal. Now we are moving for electricity conductivity of a semiconductor. As I said already, the semiconductor basically the insulators in a room temperature. But when we are applying the temperature, the insulators will start conducting the current, right? So here I just show the derivations of each term. So here you have to know about the main term, the electrical conductivity, which can be calculated using a formula: E times Ne times Ue plus Nh times Uh. So here Ne and Nh is representing the number of electron and holes, whereas mu E and mu H is representing the mobility of an electron and the hole. So here the conductivity can be calculated using this formula. And keep it in mind, the electron mobility is higher than the mobile hole mobility. And the resistivity or conductivity depends not only the electron and holes density, it also depends on the mobility. And the mobility depends relatively weak on a temperature. Now we are moving for PN junction diode. So here we are just taking the P-type semiconductor and the N-type in extrinsic semiconductor. So here when we are just joining them together, so what will happen? They will form the PN junction between, like when which point they are joining. So when a PN junction diode is formed, the P region has the more holes, whereas the negative one will have more electron. So what will happen, like the n region has mobile electron and immobile positively charged. So here the majority carriers in the n type will be electron, the minority carriers will be proton. Opposite in the case of p type. Now, so what will happen now? So when the PN junction diode is immediately after it formed, what will happen? So again I'm playing my animation. So what will happen here? The electron and the proton from each side will move and it will produce the depletion region. So because of that, there will be the potential there. So after PN junction diode form, we can say the hole from a P region and N region diffuse together in a different concentration. And here free electrons from N region diffuse into P region due to the same reason. So holes and free electron combine near the junction and each combination eliminates an electron and a hole. The uncompensated negative mobile ions in the p region do not allow any more free electrons to diffuse from n region, and the uncompensated positive immobile ions in the n region do not allow any more holes to diffuse from p region, and the positive donor ion in the n region and the negative acceptor ion in the p region are always left uncompensated. So this region will be called as a depletion region. Since the region is having only immobile charges, this region is also called as space charge region. So